Hey, my name is Kelly Cruz, and today I want to talk about my experience with EDU 206. As I came into the course, I really felt like I didn't know much about students with disabilities. I was introduced to a student with disabilities in the 8th grade when I had the opportunity to work one-on-one with this student in our special needs course in my middle school that I went to. When I first walked into the classroom, I honestly was mind blown because these students were, they were also like 12 and 13 years old, so they were my age, but they had the social and intellectual ability of possibly someone in the 3rd or 4th grade. And they gave me basically what I needed to work with him on. He needed, to work on his spelling and grammar skills. But I felt, I had mixed feelings about it. I honestly felt like I was just heartbroken for the student. I don't know exactly. I just didn't know how to deal with it. Like, I knew what to work with him on, and I was really excited to work with him. But I just didn't understand, like, how he wasn't picking up on things as fast as I was. And I would talk to him, like, how old are you? And he was my age. And I asked him what he liked to do for fun. I got to know him, but there were a lot of questions going on in my head. And I couldn't help but be attracted to the joy that those students had and the way that they interacted with each other and how they responded to me. And I loved them so much, and I hated leaving that. I only got to spend that, maybe a few weeks working with him, but after that, like, I just fell in love with those students and really loved working with them. Other than that, the only interactions that I felt like I had were working with Special Olympics, but then I started thinking about it, and even working at Chick-fil-A. The fact that we have a lot of Hispanics that work in the back at Chick-fil-A. A lot of them don't speak much English, but over the summer I was working a lot of hours. I was having to communicate some different things, like getting a large fry out the window, for example, and trying to get some things done, and I needed to communicate with them. So I figured out who knew the most English, and I would try to get the message through to them, and he was like helping me basically with my Spanish skills after taking 4 years of Spanish. And I would stay sometimes after work, and just help them wash dishes, help them any way I could. And so I was like accommodating to some different things just so I could stick around and learn more to get some things done better at work. And so I know I was exposed to a lot of differences through that and some projects that I've been able to do. Also, even leading a small group at church, 3 of the girls in my small group, they actually have ADHD, and I love their excitement and everything, but when it came down to like trying to make them focus, their minds were just like, this way, this person's doing this, and they were all like just couldn't focus. And through that, I just was able to like learn how to have fun at the same time, but trying to control and monitor the entire group. So I learned a lot more about myself and a lot more about them and the ways that they act, and I tried to like help them think through some of the ways that they were acting like, and it just taught me a lot about the things that they deal with and the things that I can help them accommodate through. Another way that I've actually felt like I knew somewhat about students with disability is the movie Temple Grandin. I fell in love with this movie because this girl has autism, and I didn't really know anything about autism, but I was really interested in how intelligent she was and how her brain worked, because she could memorize an entire page out of a book, and a few teachers were getting irritated with her through the movie. And I remember in the movie, the doctor's actually telling her mom that Temple would never be able to speak. She'd never be able to talk, and her mom believed in her and was like, she worked with her, and she knew that her daughter could overcome this. And it wasn't just her mom, but it was actually a physics teacher that she had later in the movie that also saw the potential in Temple. And because Temple had no social skills. She had a hard time being around crowds, and from the movie she created this like hug machine. Like when she had a hard time being around crowds, she would run and get in this hug machine, and a lot of people didn't accept her for the ways that she acted, but for instance, the physics teacher who believed in her like pushed her and found ways to help her do these things. She found a love for cattle and working with different animals, and she actually is a true story, and she ended up getting her PhD, and it works with animal handling now. And it was just, that movie just attracted me. For one, I loved the way that people believed in her. Her mom and the physics teacher, they believed in her enough to push her, and she overcame. I mean, autism, people think that it's such a barrier, but it's really not, and that movie just opened up some doors in my mind to how these things work. And so through this course, I've been able to learn a lot more about those disabilities and things that they deal with. And being able to, like, being placed outside the classroom, like, I was placed with special populations, and so I got to go to the YMCA and see these students swimming and, like, playing basketball with each other, and just getting to talk to them outside of them swimming, and just having simple conversations with them about, like, one student, he just wanted to go on and on about how much he knew about the movie Grease and other things. And even going back to their building where they actually meet, I helped, one girl put a puzzle together, and we just sat and talked, and I just learned so much, and I just admire, who they are, and really getting to interact with them, because they just, I mean, I don't see them as any different than myself. They have had a lot more to overcome, and they're just so, so innocent, and I have really enjoyed that experience of being able to work with them and learn who they are, and to meet the people that have raised them and have cared for them and provided for them. And I just learned how to work with them and respond to some of these things and interact with how they are, and I really enjoyed getting to go to special populations. As I mentioned before, it doesn't actually have to be like physical or intellectual that causes a disability. It could also be cultural or linguistic, which is something that I really got to dig deeper into in our expert groups. I got to work with a group of people, and we got to basically teach about cultural and linguistic diversity. And through these expert groups and being able to teach it to our class, I just learned a lot about the teaching strategies of it and the characteristics, and how to help them and how to accommodate them in the classroom. And there were just so many creative ways to really work with these students in the classrooms, like buddy systems, directly instructing them, like, or I learned some different math strategies, just all the different strategies that we learned through this through our expert groups, and the ways we got to learn about these students and the ways we can work with them. It was really exciting and really informative. I enjoyed every bit of it, and definitely through even listening to all the other expert groups was an amazing way to also learn about these things. The interview process was also a way that I got to learn more about just different backgrounds of disabilities, things that cause disabilities. And the first interview, I ended up thinking about my 5-year-old cousin. She is actually, as I've seen her grow up, I have noticed that she hasn't developed like a normal 5-year-old develops. She can't exactly, she isn't able to talk yet, and they're still going in and out of doctor's appointments trying to figure out what's going on, and they just recently found out that she has epilepsy. And so as I was interviewing her mom, so I started finding more out about epilepsy and things about her life, and like the school that she goes to school for half a day, and she has seizures multiple times a day. So like through seeing those types of things, I know how to respond to seizures, and hearing about how children develop, and how she's been very delayed in her developing process, and things that her parents have had to do in their house. Like there's something about the blinds that caused her to have seizures, so they had to change the curtains in the house and do different things to help her. And so this has helped me learn more about how to help my cousin and to help others who may deal with seizures or epilepsy. Also, another interview that I got to do was a girl that's in my math class. She is also a math education major, and I've had classes with her for 3 years now. Met her in college, and we're great friends. And I found out she has a learning disability and ADHD. And with her learning disability, she can't really, she can't spell actually at all. It's very low reading level. It wasn't until 10th grade. And so that was interesting to find out how they didn't actually catch the disability until the 10th grade. So it's something as a teacher to really look out for, like maybe some of these signs that a student may have something that it wasn't caught in an earlier stage. She gets a longer time to take tests, and professors make sure they have notes on the board, or they have some PowerPoint posted online so that she can get those notes, because if she tries taking notes from just a lecture, when she tries to go back and read them, she won't be able to, because her spelling and it won't make sense. And as I found these things out and learned more about the things that she's dealt with and things she's overcome, I just admire, you know, her drive and how well she's done in school. And so it was interesting to learn more and to find out about her and her life and her background, and it helped me grow and learn more about this disability. As a class, we had the opportunity to watch 2 out of 3 movies this semester, or watch a movie on our own and talk about it in front of the class. I chose to watch it with the class because how awesome is that, to hang out with some other college kids and kick back and watch a movie in the afternoon on a Friday afternoon. I actually enjoyed it. And the first one we saw was Mozart and the Whale. The movies were really good. The second one I saw was I Am Sam. And I can't lie, I was probably crying through half of that movie because it was so emotional, and how much the dad cared for this girl, and how much she just, I mean, she didn't stop fighting for her dad, and the lawyer that really saw some of these things. I really enjoyed getting to talk about those movies and discuss the disabilities and whether or not they depicted them correctly, and talk about what they had, and it just helped me learn more about those disabilities and the symptoms that come with it. There were a lot of opportunities in this class that I got to, like even the projects that we did online, where it would let you kind of like do the practice test where you figure out like how it really feels to have this certain disability, like with learning disabilities and other things. And it was just to reflect on those and figure out like how this actually makes a student feel. I learned a lot about, you know, how to accommodate and what these students really deal with. And watching the video on the students that deal with stuttering and what's, you know, makes them feel uncomfortable, I got to learn about how students feel and what I can do as a teacher to make them feel more comfortable in the classroom. In using those things like with the behavioral assessments, I got to just, you know, see these stories and think about what I would do in my own classroom to help this student think through, or like accommodate to them, or to help them and connect with the family. And it was just all these opportunities. I just learned how to really accommodate to their situation, and to be continually connected to their parents, and to have communication with them, and to have an open communication, to know the family, and to really get to know my students and get to know where they're from, what they've had to do to get there. And of course, I'm going to be in a high school classroom, and so my students have been through a lot of school, a lot of you know, there's a possibility where their disability hasn't really hit until high school, and I might be a teacher that sees some of these things, and I would have to take charge and try to help them. And I just know that I would be willing to get to know them and figure out maybe what they're struggling with, what helps them, you know, one-on-one time or more time, just trying like a quiet space, maybe like sitting closer to me if they're from out of the country and they want to talk about it with the class, or we actually accommodate some of these things into the lesson. I am so excited that I got to, you know, work with these students outside of our classroom, and I really am thankful for all that I have learned, and I can't wait to use these in my own classroom, and all the research that I've gotten to do, and all the time that I've spent just working one-on-one, and just reflecting on the other ways that I have come in contact with those in disabilities. I really love the interview process and really thinking of questions that I want to know for my own usage. And I came in with so many questions about disabilities and so many things that I had a hard time with trying to process, and there's no question. I know that there's more to learn out there, and there is so much to learn about these students, and I'm not scared anymore. I used to be so scared to approach them or to talk to them, and I see them as any other person, and they are just as special. They have a gift, and I'm willing to find that gift that they have, and for them to open up to me and to believe in them, like that physics teacher did for Temple Grandin, to believe in them, see that potential in them, and to see that spark that they need, you know, to help them find that, whatever it is. And I love this course, and I'm thankful that I have all the knowledge that I have now, and I get to move on to the future and one day in my classroom and use these skills and other things that I have developed. I really enjoyed this course. Thank you so much, Dr. Stegall.